We're talking how small businesses should hire and fire in 2025. You are only as strong as your weakest link. How many times have we heard this, maybe growing up on certain teams, right? And this is no different. So, as we start to build our dream team, we want to make sure that we are constantly assessing who is on our team, who are we missing, maybe who's plateauing, who do we need to coach, support, right? All of the things. So, welcome back, everybody. We're talking hiring and firing today. It's going to be a good one. I've got a lot of questions that usually pop up around here that I'm going to be sharing. But if you've got specific questions, please let me know. Now, I'll tell you this. A lot of business owners start to get, I don't know if they just start, I should say they start tolerating things that they don't know if they should say something. Is this bad? Is this not? And then all of a sudden, those bad habits, the one time being late turns into they're always late. And then you get frustrated. And then you're sitting here going, now what? How do I say something now when this has been happening for months or maybe years? So, how many of you are in that boat right now? You've got somebody on your team, and I would love to know, how big is your team? Put it in the chat right now. How big is your team? And have you been in that situation where you're feeling like you're a little stuck? You're not sure what you can say or how to say it, or can I change this person's behavior? Is it too late? Have I tolerated this bad behavior for too long and now they're complacent? Yeah, okay. So that's what we're going to be thinking about today. Melinda's got 4 people on her team. Darcy has 22. Desiree 5. Amazing. And here's the thing, guys. This is going to work whether you've got one person you're supporting or 200 people you're supporting. Okay. I love it. Rick says, yes, I feel this way. Lori's got 10. Rebecca 3. Beth 6. I love it. Okay. Amazing. Braxton has 120 employees, 5 in management. All right. So let's kind of really get into this. Now, number one, as you're thinking about new hires, and I always have a wish list. So as I'm heading into every single quarter, I'm asking myself, who is on my hiring wish list for the next 90 days? Okay. So I want to make sure you've got that dialed in. I know it's February 26th. I know we're in the middle of a quarter, but who's your wish list for March? Will there be March hires? Maybe April, who knows, right? What does that look like specifically? But what I want you to start to ask yourself is, who is missing on my team? But also, where do I need to up level, right? So the phrase, what got you here won't get you there. There's another phrase, who got you here won't get you there. And sometimes you outgrow certain people on your team, okay? Now, I don't believe you outgrow everybody on your team. There will be people that are with you from day one that make it to year 5, year 10, year 15, etc. That's super exciting, but those are rare. Those are rare people, right? That continuously up level as you up level, and they are still able to add value to the company. Okay. So I really want you thinking about, where do I need to make changes? Okay. So we talk about revenue generators, right? And is everybody pulling their own weight on the team? Is everybody spending? Are they making more, bringing in more money that I'm spending on them? And if not, how do I change this? What do I do? What does this look like moving forward? Okay. So you really want to start to assess, what is going on? Where do I see potential? Where do I see problems? Where do I go from here? Okay. Brooke says, one is either in the wrong chair or in the wrong employer. I may not be coaching her right. Okay. So as we talk about this, I will say, guys, we coach hundreds of business owners, and I love when a business owner says, it might be me. I'm not sure. It might be me. And Brooke, I just want to tell you, the fact that you even considered it could be me says like you're at a different level, right? Because I will tell you this, the amount of people that say it's not me. I was clear in the interview, and then I trained her this way, and now this is what's happening. And they just have turnover after turnover after turnover, right? They're going through people left and right. You are the common denominator, right? At some point you have to say, am I attracting this? Like, what is happening, right? So, and sometimes you're not as skilled in the interview process. So you're letting in people that you shouldn't have, right? You're letting in people where, like, anytime somebody comes into a role and we fire them fast or they quit fast, okay? Either way, I go, what could I have caught in the interview process to show me this? What could I have asked to show me this? Right? One of the things that we'll say now is, are you considering any other offers at this time? Like other job offers, right? And the reason we say that is because we've been in a situation where we give an offer, they gladly accept. 3 days later, they quit because they took somebody else's offer, right? And we're like, oh, I didn't know there was another offer on the table. So now we're asking questions like that ahead of time because they might say, yes, I'm interviewing with one other place. Okay, amazing. What process, like how far are you? When do you expect to have that offer? Oh, I'm going to get it by Friday. Okay, amazing. We'll have it over to you by Friday too. I would rather have them have both offers in hand, right? Than take mine and 3 days later get the one they really wanted and quit. So again, that is just one frustration that we said, where are we missing the mark? Why are we having this happen sometimes, right? And also, this was definitely a situation where, are we not selling ourselves hard enough? Are we just assuming, they're coming in and they want this, and we're not selling the position, the growth, the journey, all of that. So that's all the kind of stuff I want you to think about. Okay. I love it. My team members are doing this training with me. Thank you. They are truly up leveling with me. Okay. And that's the big thing, Wendy, is when you get them, like, you up level because you're hungry, you're learning, you're watching your podcasts, books, coaching programs, all of it, right? Of course, you're going to grow. But if you don't bring the team with you, they're going to stay here and you're going to climb, and then you're going to go, what's going on? Right. And then all of a sudden you have to let some of them go. When you say, let's do this together, let's learn together, let's build together, right? You're going to find the people that are like, let's go. I love this. This is amazing. Right. And you're going to have a lot more people stay with you longer. So I love that. Thank you, Wendy, for sharing. And I'll tell you this, guys, if you're jumping on for the first time, you might not know this. We've been doing a 9-week live course together. We've actually been going through our book, Well Oiled. You can find this on Amazon. Sorry if you can hear my dog in the background. We're going through this together. We've been doing this since like the first week in January. Now, if you've been doing this solo and you're like, I should have my leaders do some of these, right? It's not too late. They're all sitting on YouTube. You can still have them go back and go through this together. Another great way to tackle this is there are 9 chapters. So read 1 chapter a week and talk as a leadership team. What do we want to implement? Okay. So you can find it on Amazon. It's under $6 still. It won't stay there long. So definitely grab it now if you want the physical book. It's free on Kindle Unlimited, 99 cents on Kindle. And I believe it is on Audible. I do not know the Audible price, but there's an audio book too if you want it. And I am the one reading it. Okay. So with that said, we really want to think about, who am I attracting? What am I not liking on my team? And how do I take this a step back and start to really refine the hiring process to make sure it doesn't happen again? Okay. So Paul asked, do you have a list or a template of recommended interview questions? So I do, and I'll tell you how I got there so you can start to build yours as well, but I'll share some really good questions that I do love to ask. So number 1 is everything I'm saying, like, oh, they had no experience with this software, and like, wow, this position really needs this software. So we'll go in and make sure that that question is in that specific person's list, right? Now, what's really interesting is when you go Google like interview questions, right? And they're so generic. Yes, there's some that are great to have generic, but if I'm hiring a marketing person, I need marketing questions. If I'm using FG funnels for our marketing platform or HubSpot, I'm going to say, what experience do you have with HubSpot? What experience do you have with FG funnels, right? Like, I'm going to make sure that they are actually using it. I'm also going to be asking about questions of real situations that have happened. Okay, so think about this. When is a time that somebody on the team did not behave in the way you wanted them to? You are surprised by their behavior. You did not like it, and it is not what you would have suggested with your company values. Think of that time. Okay. So what you do is you take that story as a real question. You say, hypothetically, Here's what happens. You're in the marketing department and sales has an issue, and here's the sales issue. What would you do if you found out sales was doing this? How would you handle that? Right? And you start to see how they resolve conflict, right? What they would do, how they would do it. Would they give them the benefit of the doubt? Would they make the assumption? Like, what is going on? So, my point is, our lists are so in depth for every single position because as we've hired those roles and we get smarter and stronger with what we like and what we don't like, we go back and we add and we edit. Okay. So if you are in well oiled specifically, guys, we have interview questions in there for you. All right. So I would say you're probably going to do, I don't know, maybe 20% generic, open ended, right? It might be questions like, here are our 3 company values. Which one of these do you most resonate with and why? Like, show them, tell them. Okay. That you could ask every single person. Okay. A couple of my other favorite questions for every single person you could ask would be, who is your favorite boss and why? Because it's good to know, like, why did they like somebody, especially when you're like, oh, they like, I've heard people be like, oh, I loved, this boss and he let me do whatever I wanted. He didn't care. He didn't check in. He didn't, you're like, okay, I'm getting this vibe of maybe they should have had people checking in, right? And then when you ask them that question, you say, okay, out of everybody, who is your least favorite boss and why? Now, number one, I want you to respectfully tell me about your least favorite boss. If you bash, right, that is not something I'm excited about. Okay. So I want them to say something like, well, I really actually enjoyed all of them. If I had to pick, I would say probably just because he micromanaged a little bit. And I felt like I really couldn't do XYZ, right? And you start to go, what this person likes or doesn't like, are they going to have that problem with the person they're reporting to? Okay. So if you know you are the biggest micromanager and she said, I hated working for this company because they micromanaged, you may not be a good fit. Does this make sense? Say yes in the chat. Okay. So that's another one that you could start, like just a couple ones where like they are great questions for everybody. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in deep. So if I'm getting an executive assistant, I have different executive assistant questions. If I'm going social media, I'm going completely social media management. Okay. Because I might say things like, if you're in sales, I always ask people when they're in sales, I say, who are your favorite sales gurus that you follow online? Okay. One of our values is growth and constantly up leveling your behavior, your habits, your actions, all of that, right? And if they're like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, and like they can't name people, right? It's not going to be a good fit. What happens with us is they're like, oh, well, I took this person's program and I love this person's podcast. I've read like every book on this. I'm going, okay, they're hungry, they're driven, they're excited to get better, they have an open mindset, they're growth minded, right? Those are questions I will ask to really kind of go deep. Is that clicking, everybody? Does that kind of give you some guidance there? All right. So good. All right. Now, next, you want to hire for your weaknesses or the opposite of who you are, right? So one of the people we talk about hiring inside of Well Oiled is an operator, right? Most of our business owners are what we call innovators, right? They're ideas people. They have a gazillion ideas, okay? And then what happens is with these gazillion ideas, they're not that great at finishing. Because before they can finish, there's a better idea and they want to completely scrap all that other stuff, right? So we want to make sure that if you do not have an operator, a right hand who takes what you said and gets it done, right? Oversees it, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. And the reason the operator is so powerful is because they are your opposite, okay? So we want to do this in every area of the company specifically. Now, if you're a current client in Well Oiled's operations and you have not gone to our Operator Optimizer event, it's coming up the first week in April. Any of our clients, any of our Well Oiled members get to go to that included in your like tuition. Okay. So if you're not registered or you didn't know about it, talk to your coach. It's basically helping you find an operator or optimizing the one you currently have. And that'll be huge for some of you listening. Okay. Now let's talk about if you're worried about affording right? The next person, right? I want to hire, but I'm not sure I can afford it. Well, number one, let's go back and look at who on your team do you already have. Oh, Paul, amazing. Paul's coming. Who on your team do you already have that needs to be cleaned up? So if you're worried about affording the next person, then that tells me you're not in a season of hiring, teaching them to be a revenue generator, recouping the money, hiring again. Like, I'm not scared of hiring at all. I am just like, next person, next person, next person. Like, I'm like, go, 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 right? I think we hired 3 people. 3 new people came on the call on Monday. Yeah, this Monday. Welcome them. Last week, I think there were 2 new people on. I mean, we are just hiring like crazy. Okay. Yes, Hannah, I'll see you in Nashville. So I love hiring, right? So if you're still like, I don't know, it just tells me you haven't actually had that skill set obtained yet. No problem. We're just going to work on building that skill set. So before you go hire, maximize the people you have. So before you fire, because you think somebody's not actually producing what they should be, this is where hard conversations comes into play. Okay. Just, I think sometimes there's this like stigma of like, if I say that, they're going to think they're getting fired. You guys, I've had conversations where I'm like, listen, we need to talk about performance. You're not getting fired. That's not what this conversation is. It is me just here telling you KPIs are not where they need to be. And I want to help support you to get them up because I want to keep working together. Okay. Have those conversations. Say to somebody, hey, I pay you $3,000 a month. The work you're producing is bringing in around 2,000. We've got to get together and figure this out over the next 30, 60, 90 days to make sure that you're making more than I'm spending, or it doesn't make sense for this role. So many business owners would never say that to anybody. You would feel bad. You would be like, I can't say that, right? Like, there's no way. So what I want you to do, what I want you to start to do is really ask yourself, are you really helping by holding back? Well, number one, you're not helping your company because you're letting somebody who is an expense continue to dig into profit. You're stealing money from other people, other employees that you could be giving raises to, right? So you're not helping the business. Okay, are you helping them? You might think, well, I am. They get to keep their job. Okay, somebody who is not doing well in your company and you know they are not going to be here in the next year, I'm for sure going to let them go. You are like stealing time that they could be putting in at a different company to start to like catch up on, right, anything, just their how long they've been there, maybe anniversary days, vacation days are piling up. You're delaying them getting some of those benefits. So you're not helping the business and you are definitely not helping them. So who are you helping? You're helping you by not, you're avoiding the feeling of this uncomfortable conversation. So you're choosing, I want to feel better by not having that weird conversation, but I'm going to hurt the company and I'm going to hurt them. How many of you are like, that's exactly what I'm doing? Right? That's what you're doing. You've got to be really, really careful. You're avoiding this feeling when it's going to happen. It just gets harder the longer you wait. So get the conversation done. So today, I really want you thinking about what is the hard conversation you've been avoiding that you know you need to have. Melinda wants to know, since your program is for $150,000 in annual revenue plus, what program do you suggest for beginners? So Melinda, I suggest going through the well-oiled book. Okay, that's why I've made it available at such a like as cheap as it can possibly be on Amazon's website. Okay, and then also why we did this 9-week free course, because I want, you may not have the money yet to invest when you're making only the 150 or under 150. I wanted to make it as cheap as possible. So like, don't just read the book, do the book, do the book, do the courses. Once you get in the book, there's free video tutorials inside of here and everything. So I've got a course for you right inside. Okay. I love it. Yeah. Look at the chat. That's me. Got it. Me so much. Yep. Absolutely. Okay. So it's time to step up and have those harder conversations. I had this big realization recently that I was having hard conversations with underperformers, but I wasn't doing it with high performers who were messing up once in a while. I felt like I couldn't dare say something to a high performer or a leader because it maybe would be disrespectful or they would feel not valued, right? And I realized that they're actually the ones you should have the hardest conversations with more often because, okay, because they're the ones that want to grow. They're hungry. Tell me what I can fix. Like, how many of you in here, like, you don't want me just to say, you're amazing, you're amazing, you're amazing, you're doing good. I don't recommend anything. You'd be like, what? No, tell me what to do. I want to be better, right? Your A players, your leaders are like, tell me what to do. How can I grow here? How can I scale? How can I make more money? How can I make you more valuable? Which is you're going to want to give me a raise. How can I get a better title? Help them help you. Wendy, thank you. She says, you are helping me grow enough to hopefully hit the $150,000 soon, and I'll be enrolling in Well Oiled. I love it, Wendy. We will welcome you with open arms. And the reason we say, like, don't do it before you're at that level is because there's a lot of stuff you have to figure out in that 0 to 100 plus phase. And we don't go into some of like how to create a product and how to start social media. Like, we just don't do that. We assume you already have your social, you have a website, you know what you're selling, you've already made money. And that is where our curriculum starts. So when people say, like, why don't you let me buy it? I feel like this could be so helpful, because there are things you need to know that are just not inside of the program. Okay. All right. Yes, guys, if you have not subscribed, we have crossed over the 5,000 subscriber mark. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys subscribing. We are on our way now to 10,000, hitting that next big milestone. All right. Oh, you know what I want to share really quickly too? So what's so funny is we've been pouring into YouTube starting in November is when the strategy kicked in. If you go back to my YouTube videos and you look at November videos and you look at October and September, you're going to see like, oh, there's an up level here. Okay. In the video quality, in like just the background, like the audio, everything, every editor, all that stuff. Right. And I jumped on a call today with my YouTube person who was helping like coach me. And I go, yeah, last week's video was like kind of a dud. Hey. And he's like, what? No, last week's video was like the best video. And I was like, no, it wasn't. And I said, the views are really low. And he's like, well, that's just one number to look at. And it tells me the title needs a better title and I'm going to fix that. He said, but look at your retention of this video. So he said, when somebody started watching, we have a graph, and the amount of people that stay until the end. He goes, this video is solid. We're going to use it to model all videos moving forward. Okay. So it's so funny. I bring this up because I'm like, data directs you. Data directs you. And the data I took, okay, the data I took was low views and said, we got to change it. Right. And he's like, no. Low views means you need a better title. Retention says great video. Okay. So my point is, are you tracking the right data? When we're talking about, is this person an A player? Are they not? Right. Are we looking at the right information? Okay. Sometimes we just don't like somebody, right? So we're like, they need to go. Okay. It's like, but show me the facts, right? Oh, this person calls in sick a lot. Okay. Well, how many times? Okay. That's interesting because she's called in sick 3 times, but there's somebody who's called in sick 6 times and you don't want to fire them, right? So we really want to make sure that we're looking at data, fair data. We're never just firing somebody because it's like, oh, it's not a good fit, right? I want to see the data that tells me it's truly not a good fit. Okay. Jamie says, I need someone to tell me what to do as the owner. Yes. And Jamie, this is why so many business owners have a coach, consultant, mastermind program, etc. Because, because you just want sometimes guidance or reassurance or permission. It's hard to not have somebody to say, great idea, or we done that. And can we tell you what happened? We did that. And I don't think you're going to like that. Oh my goodness. It just like cleans it up so nice. And it makes it easier for me to go, okay, I got reassurance. We're good to go. Or, oh, I got a warning. I got a warning, right? I remember we were committed, like maybe 2 years ago, we wanted to build a software. We wanted to build a software that helped with like project management. And my friend heard me say that and then immediately shot me a podcast of somebody's, and it was like why you should never start a software company. And then I listened and it was all the reasons why I'm not qualified to start a software company. Okay. And it's just like, again, somebody who's been there, done it, messed up, why they wouldn't want to do it. Right. And I go, it literally in like a 30-minute podcast, I've been wanting to do it for years. And in a 30-minute podcast, listening to somebody who was smarter than me, I go, never mind. I'm not interested. Thank you. Thank you for saving me years and lots of money. I appreciate it. Okay. Now, that's not to say that one day I still won't go down that path, but I was not ready in 2020, maybe 3 or 2022. Okay. It was not worth my time, not worth my money. I was not in the right place to be doing that. Okay. And without having people guide you, sometimes you go down the wrong path and you spend way too much time and way too much money. I love it. Paul says, Mike, Kelly is amazing. He says, as well, coaches Kelly, he is amazing and was perfectly matched to my needs. Thank you, Woo. Oh, that makes me so happy to hear that, Paul. And yes, Kelly, I mean, all of our coaches are phenomenal, but Kelly is absolutely incredible as well. Okay. So with that said, we're talking hiring, firing mistakes. If you've got a specific question, post it in the chat. You want to use a multi-step hiring and firing process. Okay. So we don't want to be too quick in any one of these areas. Okay. So there are multiple rounds of interviews, right? There are sample projects. Sometimes we ask people to show us their portfolio. We do reference checks. Like we are doubling up everywhere we can. With firing, we don't just say, hey, it's time to part ways. Okay. There is typically a performance email sent to you as like a warning of all in writing. Hey, here's what we're seeing. Okay. I want to talk about this. I want to be really, really clear on what we're expecting and what's happening. We can jump on a call after to discuss it, but we put it in an email so they can process it. Sometimes when you're giving feedback like that, people can be so defensive, they can't even hear you, right? And you're talking and they're not listening, right? So we like to have it in an email for the sake of it's documented. We show proof well before we're letting somebody go that there's performance issues, okay? But also it gives them a minute to process it, and now we can meet about it, okay? And then from there, if it's still a problem, there is now a performance improvement plan. So you're getting an email warning, then possibly a 4-week performance improvement plan with weekly updates on how you're doing. You shouldn't be shocked that you're getting fired. Like your team members shouldn't be shocked. You should have multiple steps in place where they know it is coming. Okay. And I'll tell you this, the performance improvement plan, they either really want it and they're trying, and you're like, okay, this is great. I can, like, they didn't know, and now they know, and they're really pushing for it. And I see it, and I want to continue to work with them, and we bring them back onto the team, right? Not that they were off the team, but like they're not in like that pip anymore. Okay. Versus somebody's going through it and they're getting worse. And you're like, oh, they're probably interviewing for other jobs right now, and they're really not focusing on this company. And then sure enough, week 3, they quit because they have an offer. Okay. That PIP, that performance improvement plan, speeds up whatever is going on. It either gets them like motivated to step it up, or they give up and they're like, I'm out of here, which like I would rather have you come to that conclusion, one or the other, than us just kind of hoping somebody turns it around. Okay. So that's something to think about. Are you doing enough steps in hiring and in firing? Okay. Trust your instincts. Go with those. If you've got red flags, do not move forward. Okay. Also, let's talk about this. When people change their mind in the hiring process, you do not need to go with it. So one of our clients just shared, she had this amazing girl looking for a very entry level dollar amount. She had not been in work in a long time, was coming back into a role she had never done, had been off of work for many years because of children. Okay. Coming in back at entry level. Well, then she's about to make the offer. Maybe she does make the offer. And the woman's like, actually, I've been researching online and I need to make this much money if you want me. Red flag. Okay. First of all, right? You go in and apply to something when you see the dollar amount, and then you change your mind and you need literally was like quadruple the price. Those are red flags. If she feels this comfortable before she's even hired, imagine how comfortable she's going to feel 6 months in when she demands X amount. Okay. We also had somebody who was at day 90, asked to like double their salary. I'm not exaggerating, double their salary. Red flag, red flag. Okay. We really want to make sure that we are careful with honest conversations and clear expectations. Okay. I mean, imagine if we were in the hiring process and you were applying to work for me and I told you I was going to pay you $5,000 a month. And then, like, 6 days later, I give you the job offer and it's for $3,000 a month. You would be irate. You would completely lose trust in me. You would never want to work for me. Why would it be any different if we're doing that with employees and team members? Right? It's still something is off. Stick with your gut. Someone I have wanted to hire as has become available due to redundancy, but as we just moved into a new premise, we are finding our feet and it doesn't feel like quite the right time. What do you do? Okay. So when you hire because you feel like, but he or she's available, even though we don't need them, we should scoop them up. Okay. That really is coming from like a lack mindset, believing that somebody else won't be there later or that this person wouldn't be interested in leaving wherever they're at to come to you when it's the right time. Okay. So kind of just watch just that behavior too of what you're thinking. Now, for me, I wouldn't hire just because they are available. I would hire because there was a need and or I saw that this is a revenue generating opportunity and they can make their money back. Okay. So if you're like, it doesn't feel like the right time, well, why? Because you don't have time to train. You don't have time to do the hire. Like what about it is not feeling right? Like, let's go deeper there. And if it's truly you don't have time to be with this person or like the revenue's not there and you don't think she can be a revenue generator, then I would say pass on the opportunity, but let them know you're really interested and you're going to present an offer when the time is right. A really good offer, somebody will leave another company to come work for you, right? They will. All right. So don't feel like you have to, right? I just had a situation too with a client where somebody might leave and she was like, do I offer them this like full-time role so they stay with me instead of them? And I was like, wait, what problem are we solving? And it's really not that big of a problem. And your fix is like, to solve this problem, I'm gonna offer full-time. So I'm like, you can't afford this full-time role when you're only trying to fix a few hours here and there, right? There's somebody else out there. Like it's just you don't want to overpay. Okay, I love that. Implement a 90-day probationary period for new hires. Like actually have a 30, 60-day, 90-day onboarding experience where by day 90, you are committing, we are moving forward. We are all in. Training is over, right? Not training is never over, but the onboarding training is over. And we are seeing enough to know we're making a commitment. Okay. So start to really ask yourself, what is expected of this role at 30 days? What do you want it to look like at 60 days? What do you want it to look like at 90 days? Okay. How do we start to look at this information? Right? How do we start to look at it and really figure out where do we go next from here? Is this a good fit or not? You do not need to keep somebody for 90 days because they're on a 90-day probation. We have let people go in week 1, day 30. When we know, we know. Like, okay. Now, I'm not putting anybody on a performance improvement plan when they've been here for 7 days. If there are so many red flags, we're going to immediately say, hey, I'm so sorry, but this is not going to be a good fit. Okay. One of the situations I can think of was somebody who we tell her dress code. She shows up not in dress code. We remind her about dress code. Next day, wears like the same outfit. We're like, oh, wow. Okay. She's just completely ignoring our request. And our request, I mean, we're not dressed anything crazy, right? We're like business casual on the top. You don't know, they could be in pajama pants on the bottom. Like you can't even see, right? And for something so simple to be deliberately going against us, we're like, this is off. And then all of a sudden one day she's like, by the way, internet's out, can't work today. And we're like, okay, what is your plan for making up 2 days work? And then I was funny because one of my team members goes, okay, you can go to a Starbucks or like McDonald's and you could work there. They have free Wi-Fi. And she's like, I don't have a car, sorry. And then my team member's like, there's something called Uber. You could get like a $5 Uber and work today. And then was just like, that's okay. I decided not to do that. That to us was just such a red flag of you are not resourceful. This is a problem and you're not reliable. Right. And I think she had been here less than like 3-4 weeks. And that was the moment we said, you don't need to make up those hours. We're actually done working together. Like this is just not a good fit. Right. So you really have to make sure that you're not ignoring things that don't feel right. Right. So when your house says the timing just doesn't feel right, don't ignore that. Okay. Now, I don't ever mean, oh, your gut's saying no, don't do it. I'm saying investigate. Don't ignore that there's a feeling, but why am I feeling that way? Right? Because sometimes I have this gut feeling and it's because I'm like, I don't want to repeat that really bad situation from 3 years ago. Okay, but is it the same situation from 3 years ago? Am I smarter? Did I have better interview questions because of the situation 3 years ago? Like sometimes you have to go like, I'm freaking out for no reason. This is not a gut feeling with a really big red flag. This is me trying to move through some of this stuff. Okay. Sometimes it's like, no, the gut feeling is I am seeing a repeat problem from 3 years ago of exactly what happened. And should I ignore it? No, do not ignore it. Okay. I have a residential cleaning company. I run background checks. There's theft from 25 years ago. How do you handle this? The references rave about this person. Okay. I think everybody in the chat is going to have something different to say to you. Some people are saying, absolutely not. You steal once. This is who you are. I mean, if it happened 25 years ago, like who am I to say this person hasn't changed, right? Like if you were to judge me from 25 years ago and that's all you looked at, like I probably wouldn't be that thrilled either, right? So I think it's something where having that information, I would probably make sure that I'm not putting them in a situation where it's easy to steal, right? If they've got great references, if you've done your due diligence and you want to try, absolutely go for it. Nicole says people deserve second chances. I mean, I think everybody's going to have a completely different situation. Now, you could say, I did run a background check and I noticed 25 years ago, there was this. I would love for you to tell me like what you've learned from that and that, just to reassure me that that would not be an issue. And they might tell you, here's what happened. First of all, it might be not as even a big of a deal as you're thinking, right? We don't know. They might be like, I am mortified. Like it completely, I have never done it again. Like, I can't believe I did this. So I don't think like you steal once and you're just like a horrible person for the rest of your life, right? I think we can make mistakes and we can learn from those mistakes. But definitely do your due diligence, watch very closely. Do not put them in any situation where they could be stealing, right? I'm not just going to give the benefit of the doubt and then have you handle my cash register. Like that would also not be wise. So just be very, very careful there. Okay. Paul wants to know, how long is your interview process? I know you said there are multiple steps. Okay. So typically we would never do less than 2 interviews. Okay. And that's for like when I say typically, I mean, pretty much everybody is going to get 2 interviews. Okay. Leaders could have up to 4 interviews. Okay. So that is different. All right. So the bigger the role, the more important the role, the more I want to date you before I offer you to marry me, right? So I would really get clear on that. And like when I do 4 interviews for a leader, sometimes it's like the initial screening to make sure like this one person thinks like, okay, yeah, I was impressed, right? And then it goes to like possibly a culture fit of, do we think this person is in alignment with our company values? Okay. Then it could be a skill set test. So if you're a marketing person, we're going to make sure that we are going to drill you with marketing questions. And if you do not know your stuff, you're not getting passed to me. Okay. So like I would be the last person in there out of those 4. All right, cool. Yeah, you're so welcome. Okay. Yeah. 25 years is a long time. Could have been youthful. I know that's on 25 years. You could be in high school. You could be in college. Yeah, thanks for giving some more advice. I think it's good not just to hear from me, but from other people in the chat too. Like, what would you do? What would you think? Um, but I mean, there's just we've always got to be cautious, no matter what their background check like pops up or anything like that specifically. Right now, if you said it's last year, I would probably not want to see something recent happening, knowing like the time to change, like there's really hasn't been time to change, right? 25 years, there's a long time just to grow up, not even change. It's like you're just not the same person you were 25 years ago. Okay. Um, Regularly review and update job descriptions and also go check out what is out in the marketplace right now. So before you put out your social media manager, right? Go look and pretend like if you're looking for local or remote, go pretend like you're the applicant and type in what you're saying and see who pops up. These are your competitors. You have to know what is out there. Is everybody offering, I'm making this up, is everybody offering $30 an hour and you thought you were going to get away with 15 an hour? Do you see what I'm saying? So you really want to know what is out there, what's going on, all of that. Okay. All right. Oh, Carrie, look at Carrie. Somebody with a clean record started claiming unwarranted commission. So she's like, they didn't have a record of stealing. And then she caught them. Right. So this is what I'm saying, guys. You just have to be diligent with everybody. And yes, Carrie, good for you to be smart enough to be reviewing and making sure. But now, when you see that somebody was doing it on purpose, right? That tells me we are out of alignment on values. That tells me if you are currently lying about something in the company, what else are you lying about? That is scary, right? That is somebody that I'm going to part ways with fast, right? If you're lying about this, what else is going on? Okay. Yeah. I find myself tolerating a lot, not knowing where to draw the line, such as being late, calling out due to childcare needs. I'm a mom too. I get it, but I have a business to run. Okay. Me too. So first, this is a really simple tactic for just the late stuff. Okay. So instead of they walk appointments at 1, they walk in at 1:03. Yeah. We're like, it's only 3 minutes. Do I have to say something? I have to say something, right? It's just 3 minutes. Not a big deal. So we don't. And then the next time it's 5 minutes late, right? And then 7 minutes late. And pretty soon this person's just always late. So the best thing you can do is say something like, I noticed you're running a little late. Is everything okay? Just saying, I noticed you're running a little late, which is true. You're 3 minutes behind. You're just a little late. Is everything okay? What you're doing is you're saying to them, I've noticed you are late, right? And what's going to happen is they're going to realize it is a big deal because you have said something. Okay. So then if they do it a second time, sometimes that whips people right into shape because they're like, oh, she thinks I'm late. It's only 3 minutes. Okay. I guess I didn't know I could be 3 minutes late. So then the second time, if they do it again, you say, hey, this is the second time you've been a little late. What's going on? You're literally saying this is not okay. Okay. But I don't think I sound mean when I'm saying that. Like, Nicole, what's going on? I noticed you've been late a couple times now. Right? Oh, it's this, it's that. Okay. But you're still getting them to understand you're catching it. Okay. Now she's a mom. She always has excuses. She's got childcare problems. So the third time you say, hey, Nicole, so this has been the third time that this has happened. So how do we fix this so that this is not we can't have this turn into a habit. Okay. And that's what I say to people is just that phrase is it's happened X times, give a fact. I just don't want this to turn into a habit. So how can I support you in fix whatever that bad habit is? Okay. And usually the right person's like, I'm so sorry. Like they're starting to click. This is not acceptable. But let's go to the alternate, right? You don't say anything. Cool. So then they're like coming in, 7 minutes late with Starbucks in hand because they're like, Carrie doesn't care. She never brings it up. Like, no big deal, right? So just be really, really careful. Okay. Does that help? Just ideas of like phrases to say, and you don't have to be like, why are you late? This is unacceptable, right? You can feel more concerned. Okay. And for the when you're like, I have a business too. You can say, listen, I'm a mom. I totally get it. Like childcare, kids are sick. You're picking them up from school. I get it. But we have a professional, like we have a law office we're running, and our clients are expecting us to XYZ. So if we can't figure out how to make this work, this is not going to be a good fit because our clients have high expectations. If I'm paying a lawyer X amount of dollars an hour, you better believe I have high expectations, right? And you want to make sure you have very professional people that understand how you need to show up and behave in your law office. Okay. Yeah. Um, how do you integrate a non-family member into the work environment? Okay. Um, my sister came in after I already had other people. So I guess I wasn't just like a family and then brought in people. I think the big thing is you start behaving not like mother daughter. Okay. Now, this might feel extreme and you don't have to do this, but I want to share Dave Ramsey. Do you know who Dave Ramsey is? I have been around Dave Ramsey and his children, and they don't call him dad when they are working. So when they're working, they literally say, "Hey, Dave." Okay. What's interesting about that is, and I actually asked his son because I was standing right there and I was like, okay, very odd. You are his son, but you call him Dave. And he said, yeah, I call him dad when we are in a personal family environment. And when we are at work, he is Dave. He is my boss. Okay. And okay, perfect. Nicole, I love it. I love it. And I actually loved that he said that. Now, first of all, my mom doesn't work at my studios, but she does work like at our recitals and stuff. And I will say, like, I'm the boss, right? I do feel a little kiddish when I'm like, "Hey, mom, could you grab me that?" in front of clients. Like, it just feels like I'm not in charge, right? Now, if I worked with her on a daily basis, I probably would be like, "I have to call you by your name." Um, but it does feel weird. Like, it doesn't feel like you're the owner when you're like, "Hey, mommy, help me do this," right? So that could be something to consider too. All right. Oh, Jamie's got a good question. How do we reverse previous leniency? Yeah. So you haven't been saying anything and you're like, now do I say something? Okay. So, Jamie, this happens all the time, right? So now what you need to do is you say, "Hey, first, I want to take full ownership. I have not said anything about you coming in late sometimes. And I should have. And I know it might feel really odd to bring it up now, 3 years in, but I really want to make sure moving forward, we get you here on time. So typically you come in at 105, 110, sometimes as late as 120. So how can I support you? That's my favorite phrase. How can I support you and making sure you're here right at 1 o'clock or 12:59? Okay. So you take the blame. This isn't your fault because you don't want to be like, you're yelling at me for 3 years worth of something when you haven't said anything, right? So I just want to bring up, this is my fault. I should have said something and I haven't. And I really want to bring this up now moving forward so we can just like set like a clean slate and have this moving forward. Okay. So good. Yep, I love it. Okay, we have a lot of people using real names instead of like mom, dad, etc. Okay, I think it's a great idea. Okay, so like with my sister, we say names like right. Nobody needs to know we're sisters. Okay, so that is really easy for us specifically. Okay, I love it. So that's what I would do, Jamie, is you go in and you let them know, here's what's happening. Now I'm trying to set higher standards. My team isn't digging it. Yes. So when you tolerate certain behavior for a long period of time, they have grown accustomed to it. And they might be like, Jamie, no, this is not how it's happening. Like, I've been wearing yoga pants to work every day. I'm not starting to wear a dress, like, not doing it. Right. So we actually did that where we're like, guys, we're going to start wearing polos with our logo on it because people were dressing very wild at the front desk. And I'm like, So we had to go to the polo and people were like not coming into work with their polo. Right. So I had to say, hey, now I'll tell you this. It's also a sign sometimes you just don't have the right people, right? They were great for you in this season, but now you're taking it more seriously and they're like, no, thank you. Right. So when I took my business more seriously, I had this person at the front desk say to me, you see, this is like my fun, like part-time job. So like I just worked all day. And now when I come here, I just kind of chill. So like, this is getting a little serious for me. Like literally, this is what she said in my face. I'm like, well, here's the deal. This isn't my fun part-time job. This is my serious business, right? And I really need to see this, or it may be time for us to part ways. And we really did part ways because she was like, yeah, I don't want to work that hard. Okay. So pushback will happen, right? I really do believe if you are a parent, parenting and running, like working with employees are so similar, right? Like just because my kid is upset, like yesterday, oh my gosh, mom, can I have a piece of candy? No, you need to eat something healthier before we go candy, right? But what if I just had this piece of candy, mom? I literally think I said 6 times, you're not having candy. And then I finally said, I'm done responding. The candy is not happening, right? It's over. So you can keep bringing it up. I'm going to ignore you. Just an FYI. And she got it. She stopped bringing it up, right? And it's like, you are going to get pushback with your team. And you have to say to them, listen, this is the third day in the row you're not wearing your polo. And we've decided for a reason, the polos make us look more professional, right? So I need you to do this. If you're not able to follow the rules, right, then maybe it's time for us to part ways. Okay. All right, I have to run in a couple minutes, guys. These questions have been so good. The pushback is real. I'm trying to get everyone in office that's been remote. Yeah, and that's a really hard one because if they're like, I don't want to work in the office, you will have to just hire for the office. Yeah. My only employee is remote. We have weekly check-ins where we either go over or review their KPIs throughout the week. Oh, sorry. Do you allow new hires to work remotely? If so, how do you measure? Okay, I'm like, thank you, Chelsea, but where's this coming from? Okay, I see Paul's question now. Do I allow new hires to work remote? Well, okay, so just an FYI, in Well-Oiled's business, we don't have a headquarters, okay? Every single person is remote. So we have a 100% remote business. So everybody measures their KPIs weekly on a spreadsheet that I see. So yes, you absolutely can. Now in my studio, we have a few people that are remote, or we have people that get to work remotely X amount of time and then X amount in the building. And yeah, if they're new, it's just the same system. Now I will say you have to be careful because we'll let people work remotely, 1 day a week or 10 hours a week. And then pretty soon they're like not coming in for these other shifts, right? And one of the things we had to do was start to kind of nitpick a little bit and say, listen, if we've hired you, like we'll actually say this, your shift Friday from 10 to whatever is remote, but you need to be in the building Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You do not say, oh, I'm coming. Like it's hard for us because the studio is a nighttime and second shift business. We are open during the days sometimes, right? But most of the kids are in school. So somebody might be scheduled to work 10 to 5 in the building, but there's nobody coming in the building. So what do? They stay home and they're like, oh, I just worked remote. No. The phone is ringing and you did not answer it. Somebody who drove by that saw an open sign couldn't stop in because now you weren't there. So we are very adamant that you are hired for in studio, even though there's nobody in the building. You do not get to decide you're calling in sick that day. Okay. So that is another thing we have to be really cautious of. And now that we know this, that this new world of what happens is upfront when we hire and we say, listen, you can work remote this many hours. We flat out say, now you might be really excited about the remote aspect. We just told you 4 hours a week, you're remote. The rest of the week, you're in the studio. It will not be more than 4 hours. Like I'm just letting you know in case you're thinking, ooh, hopefully it'll turn into like 10 hours. This is 90% in the building and only 4 hours are remote. So it is a non-negotiable. Are you able to be in the building? Like we are setting the tone so strong. Okay. All right. Yeah, you got to, they stole the second day. Keep them away from cash. Yeah. I mean, you have to be careful with people you don't know. Like you can love somebody on an interview, but you don't know them. Somebody can fake a lot in an interview. You do not know who they are, right? So you want to be very careful, due diligence. You also want to make sure that what they have access to steal is nothing crazy. So, like, I think for us, I might be making this up, but I think from when I remember the last time, I don't think we have like more than like $75 in our drawer, okay, like our cash drawer. So, even if you did steal, like you're at the front desk day one, the most you have access to is $75. And we would notice, even if you stole $1, we would know immediately by the next morning that you've stolen. Okay. So, at a very worst case scenario, I've lost $75. However, I've fired you so fast that I have saved more money, right? So, you have to ask yourself, like, what do they actually even have access to? What am I giving them? Like, you may not give them access to 1Password or LastPass where they have access to all of these different things. You may purposely keep them off of certain software or your email list or whatever it is. Okay. So, baby step, just like you're not going to give your kids the key to your brand new car when they turn 16, right? Like, what are the stages for them to show you they're earning your trust to give them something bigger? Okay. I had an employee that I hired as part-time, and now 1 year mark, she's complaining that I do not pay a living wage. What do I do? Okay. So, yes. So first of all, whenever somebody is not happy with pay, number one, the question is, am I actually being fair? Is this like could I replace her for the same amount? Okay. So if somebody's like, this is ridiculous. I can't believe you're only paying $15 an hour, whatever it is, right? I know we all have different minimum wages, but whatever. I think my minimum wage is like 7.25. Okay. It's insane in Wisconsin. I think like the front desk, like starting, it's like Target starts at 15. I think we start at 15 as well. So if somebody said to me, this is ridiculous, 15, you can't even live off of $15 an hour. Number one, I'm going to do my due diligence of one of my big questions is, what is Target paying? Okay. Because if Target's paying 15 bucks an hour, there's no reason I can't pay $15 an hour as well. Okay. If I will listen, go due diligence, there was one time, might have been right after the pandemic. I think people started paying like a lot more. And we really did find out we were like super underpaying people. And we had no idea. We started interviewing and people were asking for crazy amounts of money. And my sister started to do some research or start to ask other people. And she's like, yeah, I don't know what happened, but everybody jumped up in revenue or in salary and we did not. And we're a big difference here. So we proact. So think, guys, I had like 35 people technically being like underpaid, not all of them, but like the going rate was going higher and we didn't know because they were staying with me. So we didn't know anything about it. So anyway, could I have just kept them and hope they didn't notice? Yeah, but I don't want to do that. So when I realized, like, oh, dang, like the whole community is paying X amount, we went back and gave unexpected raises because in case they found out, I didn't want them leaving me to go get somebody. I want to make sure they know, like, you can trust me and I'm going to pay you well, right? So if it's different, it depends. If you're like, this is normal and Target's paying this, like that's what the job offer is. Either way, you don't need to feel bad. If you're paying more than minimum wage and you told her that's what it was and she accepted it, if she's not interested, okay, then it's over. If you're like, yeah, I could go up a little bit, then it may be time to do so. Okay. So I really want you thinking about that and really asking yourself, like, as you're doing this, like, where do I want to go from here? Who do I want to be? What type of employer do I want to be? Like, I want to be the person who knew she was underpaying and secretly was like doing that to my team. You know what I'm saying? I would rather surprise them with an extra, like they literally had raises and then we gave them raises again in the middle of the year to say, listen, we've done some market research and the market has gone up and we want to make sure we're paying you fairly. And here's what you're getting. And they were ecstatic. I mean, of course, right? Which is why we have very high retention at our team. Okay, guys, it's been an hour. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the most recent video is about if you're feeling like your business is feeling out of control. I give you 3 strategies of why it might be out of control, what you can do to fix it. Today's free workbook, and there are some juicy workbooks. You can, I think the word is hiring. I think it's hiring. Go to Instagram at Stacy Tuschl, DM me the word hiring, and we're going to gift you a free workbook of all of our hiring and firing tips. So you have that, save that in a Google Drive somewhere with our well-oiled resources. And if you didn't know we were doing this, every single week, there's been a free workbook with more details and things. Oh, sorry, self-run, guys. I missed it. So if you didn't know that, we've got all of these workbooks from the last like I think maybe 8 weeks already. Go watch those videos. You'll see the keyword. You'll know what to post on Instagram. Make sure you're following me here at on YouTube as well as on Instagram. All right, guys, I will see you next week. Have a great week, everybody. Bye, guys.